Gaslands, post-apocalyptic vehicular combat by Mike Hutchinson. Welcome to the Picnic Dome, Gaslands fans. Today we are taking our Gaslands out into the real world, supersizing it once more. It's about 3 times the tabletop scale, and as you can see, our arena, the Picnic Dome, it's around 15 feet across, maybe 12 to 15 feet. Scale that down to the table size and you're looking at about 4 to 5 feet across. The circle is entirely paved. That means all of our vehicles are going to get free rerolls. As you can see, there's a couple of green chalked in areas, call it toxic sludge ponds, what have you. And of course, any area outside of that circle is going to be rough going, so no free rerolls on the skid checks there. We'll take a look at our race course here in video format. Our lineup is going to be as shown here. And you're going to have to rock. It's a bit of a technical course, shooting through the pipes under the picnic table there and around to this checkpoint here. Gate number 2, weapons hot, and then you can veer off to the left or the right. You can see there's a gate 3 over here and a gate 3 over there, and then back to the starting line is going to be the end. So a couple of different lines you can take. We'll have to see how our boys go. And then the barrels are exploding barrels. If you touch one of those, you're going to take a 2 dice collision hit. It's going to explode, and anybody within medium range is going to take 2 dice. At the starting line, as usual, our cheapest car. Now, the blue streak there has been upgraded with a couple of extra hull points, and he takes the dangerous decision to veer in front of his opponents, daring them to go ahead and give him a little shot. Nice and easy turn, and oh look, somebody takes him up on it. It's going to be the green boy. This is at the end of the first gear phase. Everybody else decides to move up medium. This little strategy here on the part of the blue streak is going to pay huge dividends. In addition to, well, first we'll do our T-bone check. They are both in 3rd gear. So that's going to be, it's going to do 2 points of damage, as you can see. 5 points of damage. He's able to avoid one of those, 4 points of damage. That's going to be pretty big. On the other hand, it slows down the wannabe tanker and allows our performance car to do a nice little veer. He's in a low enough gear that does not hurt. So he gets a bit of a bump, all at the cost of 4 hull points. Moving on now into the 2nd gear phase, you can see the silver streak there is just rocketing forward. He's got a pretty good line to that 2nd post, and Mr. Yellow is going to veer up right along behind him. And here we see the tanker has decided, well, heck, I'm going to go ahead and veer to the right. We'll see if I can avoid those posts. That slows him way down. That's going to be a huge penalty. So at the end of the 2nd gear phase, the hazard tokens are starting to pile up. Everybody is in 3rd gear except for the tank wannabe and the Wild Blue yonder. Wild Blue manages to get the spin result that he needed, thanks in part to the rerolls, and he can shoot through the pipes fairly easily. And but he does have, thanks to taking that kind of outside line, it looks like he is a little behind the silver streak, who moves up. You can see the yellow boy and the tank wannabe doing their best to keep up, and as we head into the 4th gear phase, everybody is in 4th gear except for the Wild Blue yonder, who is now in 5th. Being in 5th gear opens up, I guess this is actually going into the 5th gear. It opens up that high speed, and again with a spin result, or the long move distance, again with a spin result, the Blue yonder is able to get himself a decent line. Unfortunately, that does put him fairly close. Look at that, man. Silver streak moves up and is just outside ramming distance. Probably could have used that, although on the other hand, that would have given the Wild Blue yonder there, he's a performance car, would have given him another little nudge forward. So no T-bone there. You can see, let's see, the medium speed for Mr. Yellow. And there, I guess that's actually at the end of the 5th gear phase. Oh yeah, tank wannabe, maximum gear 4, so he is actually in 4. Here we are in the 5th gear phase now, and the Wild Blue yonder is going to get a little tricky. Drops that handbrake, here's the slide, and he is able to shoot well ahead. Moving into the 6th, again with the racing on pavement, he has got a serious advantage. He pops it into 6th gear and rockets ahead, and you can see that The only thing that gives him any concern is the fact that those guys can, the rest of the competition, if they really want to stop him, they can make some turns to the right. Unfortunately for them, not tagging the gate there means their weapons are not hot. Blue has the hot weapons. Those are only on his front quarter, so it's not going to do him a whole lot of good. Silver Streak, having seen the Wild Blue yonder pull that little slide maneuver, decides he's going to do the same. He is lined up for a perfect shot with his twin four-mounted guns, but he hasn't crossed the checkpoint yet, so he doesn't have any ability to return fire. Behind him, Mr. Yellow and the big gun are doing the best they can to keep up. Here you can see where they're at in relation to everybody else. Because the Wild Blue yonder has already crossed that second checkpoint, Silver Streak now has pole position, and that's going to be critical because as we move into this second turn, everybody's in fourth gear. Hazard tokens are starting to pile up, particularly for the Yellow Burble. Tank Wannabe, he's got a couple, so he will be able to maintain enough safety margin that he can unload on that gun if he can ever get across the checkpoint. Silver Streak gets the first action of the gear phase, and that does put him near enough to take a shot at the Wild Blue yonder. We're going to kick it on over to video now, since Wild Blue yonder has a total of, 6 hit points left. This is going to be a very important die roll, and it might be the last shot that Silver Streak gets on his opponent. So he's all lined up, he's ready to go. He's going to roll a total of 4d6. The white dice are going to be the evade dice, and all together we do a total of 2 points of damage, leaving the Wild Blue yonder with just 4 hit points left to go. We'll kick it back on over. Remember that when it's so windy, it's a little hard to handle the audio portion of today's broadcast, so that's why we go with the slideshow or film strip for those of you that grew up in the 1980s. Yellow Burble manages to close the gap a little bit. He looks like he's angling for taking the Silver Streak out, and then Mr. Trundle comes up, and man, he looks like he is setting up for some nice T-bone action as well. As you can see, even with a handling of 2, he gets a couple of shifts, so he is able to maintain his safety margin. Hazard tokens are disappearing, and oh, look at that. Here comes Mr. Blue Streak. Oh, he has just enough room to stay on the course, it turns out. And with that, he does actually get the slide result. Remember that the 2, we go slide, or what is it? It goes slip, slide. Hazard, slip, slide is my mnemonic. So the number 2 gives him a slip, and he is going to be able to turn and just kind of hug the pavement a little bit without really doing a whole lot of having to worry too much about his hazard tokens. Not a lot of them down there. We are moving into the second gear phase. Everybody moves up. Yellow now gets to take a shot with his turret-mounted gun, and he does 2 points of damage to the Silver Streak. Just kind of an oh, by the way. Blue gets to go next, and Wild Blue yonder is just, he's gone, man. He is off to the races. Wait, why is he going next? This gear phase 3, and as you can see, heading into the third gear phase, the Silver Streak, he gets to go, and he is just out of range. He just doesn't quite have enough to get there. That's unfortunate. There's a nice shot of the park, and there's your host right there in all his magnificent glory. I'm going to show you his good side here. Remember, it's not about Mr. Wargaming, it's about Wargaming. And here's what our rides look like as the big gun comes around the corner. Take a look at Mr. Yellow Burble there. He did rocket through that slime patch, so he picked up a couple of hazards there. He's opening fire. Everybody's opening fire on the Blue Streak. They're just not having a whole heck of a lot of luck. Unfortunately, as he comes around that corner, Mr. Green is, now he's hurting. He's up to a total of 4 hazard tokens, so he is not going to be able to open fire with his cannon. If he does, it's going to drop him back down to first gear, and he doesn't want any of that. He'll have to make the flip check, and best case scenario, he's in first gear. He's playing for third now, and hey, take a look at this, but that is going to mean that Silver Streak will be able to nudge up, get just close enough to take one last shot at the Wild Blue yonder. We show you the range, And we'll show you the dice, and here we're going to roll, same as before. He's going to do a total of 1 point of damage. Oh, but look at that. 2 evasions means that the Wild Blue Yonder is in the clear. He is cruising along, and there's really nothing that can stop him now. Here's a shot of what it looks like after he goes. He has the next activation, and he is going to tag that 3rd checkpoint, which is going to cause even more trouble because now yellow's going to get to go before Silver Streak, and that's going to give him plenty of time. So here's what it looks like at the end of gear phase 4, and you can see that the Wild Blue Yonder is doing well. Everybody else kind of creeps up along. Yellow Burble, he would love to take a shot. Oh, he's not going to be able to. He hits one of the barrels. Doesn't do any damage, but it does mean that he is distracted and unable to take a shot. The green boy decides, well, I'm just going to keep whirling around. If he makes that left-hand turn, he may be able to line up for one more shot. Mr. Blue drops down to 5th gear, makes the gentle turn. He is cruising along, looking good. And here you can see what it looks like as he leaves everybody else behind. The Wild Blue Yonder does manage to get a very timely spin result. Rolling 4 dice, getting re-rolls makes it a lot easier, I tell you what. Barely manages to avoid one of the exploding barrels, and he's got a great line. On the next activation, he is going to win. Mr. Silver Streak, he comes up and fishtails a little bit, pedal to the metal, desperately trying to make up just enough ground to take one last shot. 1 point of damage is all he's got left, and it's not going to happen. Here's a shot from the point of view of the boy with the big gun. As you can see, he's out of range, and he doesn't even have line of sight. Even if he could take a shot, he's not going to be able to. So here's the final shot of the day. Silver Streak comes up. He's going to wind up in 2nd place. Wild Blue Yonder crosses the finish line at a perpendicular angle, man. He is at 90 degrees, but he hits the checkerboard pattern. He is the winner, and I think the lighting is too bad. You can't even see that having abandoned all hope of even getting to the 2nd or 3rd checkpoint, or to the 3rd checkpoint, the guy with the big gun can only watch helplessly as a Wild Blue Yonder manages to finish. So let's talk a little bit about this scenario. The first checkpoint is at the far end, and it's a little bit too far away. It took too long for the guns to come up hot, so that the yellow burble and the big green gun really had nothing to do. They got a bad start. They were playing catch-up the whole time. They were really just a non-factor. The forking path was intended to give Mr. Wild Blue Yonder a fighting chance. If he's got to circle back around and cross over the starting line, that really gives the 3 pickup trucks all the advantage in the world, because the one advantage that the Wild Blue Yonder has is his speed. And if you force him to cut back across the path, you completely negate that. The intention here was to make it so that the Wild Blue Yonder either gets knocked out of the race early or wins outright. And of course, in this case, he didn't get knocked out early, which he couldn't because the guns weren't hot. If I were to run this again, I would probably move that first checkpoint up to where cars would be crossing it at about 4 medium moves. So about gear phase 4, to give them an opening shot. And the guys that are kind of lagging way behind will then have a little more opportunity to do some ramage action. That's the first mistake. The fork really is a bad idea because nobody's going to take the opposite path. If you've got one performance car, maybe if you have 2 and they peel off in opposite directions, or if you have 8 cars, then it becomes more of a choice. But in this case, this is one of those options where there's no real choice. You have to follow the leader. That's all there is to it. He determines which path he's going to take, and there's really nothing you can do if you're one of those other cars. So a couple of things to think about as you lay out your own race courses, and we are done. So until next time, I wish you guys happy racing, and remember, I'm praying for you.